Hey, how's it going? Adam here from Local Boss, and I have a student here with me. His name's Josh, and wanted to bring Josh on. He's been in the program, several weeks, 6, 7 weeks, something like that. And we obviously have a cool community. He posted some results in there, and I thought, wow, I would love to get Josh on to share his experience, what he did, how he landed his first client, and everything in between. So you guys can perhaps learn from it, take some inspiration from it, and perhaps go out and copy exactly what he did. So Josh, thanks so much for joining me here today.
Yeah, Adam, thanks for having me.
Welcome, man. So you're in Seattle.
Yep.
I'm in San Diego. What's the weather like in Seattle today?
It's nice and clear. It's beautiful out, but it's a little cold. It was like in the high 20s last night. So it was freezing, but we're all right.
Wow, that is cold. And I'm used to, even though I've been in the US, I don't know, a few years now, I still think in Celsius.
Yeah.
When you said 20s, I was like, oh, beautiful. But you're on
That's
about
zero then, right? Zero or a little bit under.
Yeah. So wow, yeah, you're that's seriously cold. So it's pretty. We're like in the 20s here Celsius, so we're like 70s Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that's perfect. My brother actually lives in San Diego.
Oh, beautiful. Do you ever come out here much?
I haven't. You know what? I haven't visited him while he actually lived out there, but it's probably more likely of a place that I would go to than other places in Cali. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To see him. So.
Makes sense. Beautiful, man. Well, cool. Well, what I'd love to know, Josh, before we dive into like the results, is a little bit about, I guess, your background or what you were doing before Local Boss.
Yeah. So, like we talked about, my background is audio production. So I went to college for recording music in studios and doing live sound at concerts. I bounced around a little bit. I worked at Disney. And then when I was at Disney, I was recruited into a financial firm. And I just decided I wanted to be a financial advisor.
So how long ago was that, Josh? When did you get recruited to the financial firm?
That was in 2006.
2006. Okay.
Yeah.
Good 30 years ago. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What was it like working with Disney?
It was good. I mean, it was okay. I mean, if you want to work at a job, but the thing is, I was working with people that were my parents' age, making the same or less money as me. They're all in bad shape. They all were in bad health. And it was just demanding, like I wanted to have a family and get married and stuff. And to have your employer be like, we need you from 6:00 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. for the next 6 days. It's just like that kind of stuff was commonplace at Disney. So it was just hard. It was hard for me to meet people. I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have, you know what I mean? It was just like, I was just working my tail off. And I mean, I was doing okay for a single guy in Florida. I was making okay money, but it was just, it's just not where I wanted to be, Wow.
So why would they have you work in the evenings? What was the reason for that?
Well, a lot of times it was like overnight type stuff. So like there would be, a big company would come in and like rent a portion of the Magic Kingdom to like throw a big party. And you can't set up for that kind of stuff while people are in the park, So you got to wait until it's over, drive a truck in there, unload everything. And so, that was another issue with Disney is that I was trained to do live sound and things like that, but I was doing more like inventory and equipment control at Disney. So it wasn't, I didn't really get to use a lot of my creativity. And I'm a pretty creative person and I feel kind of boxed in unless I'm able to like outlet myself. So it was only a matter of time. So, yeah.
And so
I found
so you
something
went
else.
into the financial sector then, right? You got recruited?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And the company was a total joke. But I got my insurance license and a couple securities licenses and things like that. And I, had a little bit of success over the first few years and then decided to branch out on my own and become independent. I partnered with a business partner in Florida for a while, and we ran a couple firms, an insurance brokerage and an investment advisory firm, doing special types of financial planning, working with retirees and veterans and people planning for care and stuff like that. And so, for a while it was pretty satisfying, but eventually, I moved out to Seattle with my fiance at the time, who's now my wife, and we just wanted to start a firm out here, just kind of doing the same thing. And it just kind of stopped being something that I was really passionate about. I realized the things that I would need to do marketing wise in order to continue to pick up clients as the industry got more technology focused. I just wasn't into it. Like I knew I'd have to do like a podcast or record a bunch of videos. And I was just tired of being beholden to producing content. And really, I started running Facebook ads for my company, trying to generate leads on my own. And it can be really pricey for financial services, among some of the priciest, I'm sure you know. And so it was, I had a little bit of success doing it, but it's just something kind of ticked in my head when I started running ads, that it was just fun. And my dad owns a marketing and public relations firm. And so I think maybe it's just sort of in my blood, but the idea of the psychology behind it and things like that, it was just really, it was just fun. And so when I decided to close my firm down, for about the past year before that, I had started an e-com store just on Shopify, and I was like drop shipping watches and things like that. And it's just, I got on that bandwagon a little bit late, because it was like I had success for like the first few weeks I did it. And then there was a huge drop off in sales. And it was just like the very end of that, I think, being a really good, legitimate thing that you can teach a lot of people to do, things have shifted more towards brands and things like that. And so I spent about a year doing that, and was just really trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I got a buddy who's kind of mentored me and helped me out with a lot of stuff online. And he convinced me to start trying to work with realtors. So I was kind of partnering up with a realtor buddy of mine, recording some videos for him, going to run some ads and things like that. But what ended up happening is, the whole time this friend of mine, who is just a really good mentor, was like, hey, you should run an ad agency, because he used to do it. He said you can make a lot of money, and it's a really good business to be in. But the thing is that he's a friend and a mentor, but I couldn't depend on him to teach me the ins and outs and the moving parts of it. So the God's honest truth is, I was in bed. We were kind of waking up, my wife and I, sometime in December, and I was feeling a little discouraged about the realtor I was working with. Just things are going slow. I had to like re-record a video, and I saw one of the ads for Local Boss come along, and even before I watched the video, because it was a few minutes long, the video, I turned over to my wife and I was like, do you think I should just start like an ad agency and just start working with clients, like local type clients, and trying to just get business? And she was like, I don't know. And I was like, well, let me watch this video. And I watched it, and I saw you flipping through the results. I saw you flipping through a Google sheet that had a bunch of leads on it, and a bunch of them were all blanked out. And it just it was like looking at like a diamond. I was like, ooh, it was just impressive. And I was like, I really want to be able to do that. So, I have a pretty good feel. Like, I use ClickFunnels and things like that. I've used different email sequencers and things like that, autoresponders. And so I had like a macro idea of how things should work, but I didn't know the ins and outs and all the little moving parts, the integrations and stuff. And that's what got me really excited about Local Boss, is because I knew this would help me connect all the dots to see if it was something that I could actually do. And I felt pretty confident about it,
Yeah. Wow. That's one of those things, huh? One of those perfect timing things. Excellent.
Yeah. It's all about time. And the thing is, like, maybe it's because I'm part of Local Boss, but I see build your agency type ads all the time.
Yeah.
And more so now. And I think it's because I'm on ClickFunnels, so I get advertised to by everybody. You know what I mean? But but it was just like, and I don't really know what made yours different or pop out more. It was just timing. I don't know what it was.
Did you have any kind of hesitations or concerns or doubts before joining?
Not really, honestly, to tell you the truth. I was able to talk to Honey, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she answered a lot of questions for me and everything like that. But I mean, it was really just like, I know there's a lot of moving parts. I don't know how to get the leads over to the people, just all those, all that stuff. And it turned out, the cool thing about it is when you start taking the training for Local Boss, there's a few sections, and then around the starting of the training, you say, well, this is the stuff that you need to do. And then you should just go get a client. And the rest of the stuff you can figure out as you go later on. And so I actually did that. I read up to there. I looked at some of the other sections, and I was like, well, I know how to use ClickFunnels. I know what Zapier is. I know what Google Sheets are. There's not really a ton of more complicated stuff. So I just focused completely on trying to find clients. But the issue is that since I started around the holidays, I knew it was going to be really difficult to try to get business done in the last couple weeks of the year. So I waited another week or two longer than I could have started, earlier, but I started sending out mail on like the 3rd of January.
Cool.
just to
Awesome.
get past that New Year hump. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, yeah, smart move. You know, a lot of businesses kind of slow down end of the year. It's hard to get them on the phone as well.
Yeah.
And, yeah, definitely. You know, good time to good time to have off if you have a business as well. Spend some time with the family. You know, plan for the year and then hit January hard, which is what you've done. So yeah, you've been in the program. What is it? 6-7 weeks now? Is it
Yeah. Yeah.
something like that? Yeah, 6-7 weeks. And so far, then I believe you landed your first client, right?
Yeah, I did. And it's, honestly, my biggest issue in this program doesn't really have anything to do with the program. It has to do with finding the right kind of data scrapers and people to work with on Upwork. And I don't know if you've run into this before, but let's just put it this way. There's a reason why a lot of these people are freelancers. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they could work for somebody else. So with someone that is results driven and holds people to timelines and knows exactly what I want and everything like that, it can be a little bit frustrating. And I mean, for me, that's really the toughest part about this, because the program's great because you have all these email templates and things that you can use. And the only thing you need to do is supply fuel for the machine, which is basically the email engine, which is Woodpecker, and I'm using it as well. But when you don't have any fuel, then the machine stops, right? So because of a little bit of a bad string of some freelancers that I ran into that I was trying to get to pull specific types of data for me, it could have, put a damper on stuff. But even in spite of that, I've had some good results so far. For the amount of emails that I've sent out and the amount of people that I've spoken to, I actually feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's great. I mean, what did you've got a client on a monthly retainer. What was what's the monthly amount you got them signed up for?
So it's $2,500 for 50 leads.
Okay, perfect.
What I started doing is I want to just only sell 2 packages, and this is just personal preference, which is kind of a hybrid between what I want and what you talk about. So I want to be able to charge either $3,000 a month for 50 leads with a 2-month commitment, or $5,000 for 1 month of 100 leads, and I would do that month to month. I'm starting to think the better I get at this, the more I will require people to commit to ahead of time to work with me, because my buddy who owns his own ad agency was like, you got to get people to work with you for at least a few months. Otherwise you're selling yourself short, and you're selling them short too. They've got to get a good enough slice of data to determine if this is going to be a good fit for them or not. So that's kind of the frame of mind that I came into it with. But what ended up happening is I had a doctor, the niche is all therapy. But I had a doctor that I spoke to that was excited about moving forward, but he was just like, well, hey, I'm willing to do 50 leads, and then I want to close 3 treatments out of it. And if I do, then I'll continue. But if not, then it's probably not something I'd be interested in. And I was like, no, you should probably just keep your money. I won't do 50 leads because it's not enough. All right. But what I will do is I will lower the 50 lead $3,000 cost to $2,500. So you save a little bit of money, and you're paying the price like you would have got the 100 leads in 1 month, but we're able to stretch it out over 2 months. This way you can get acclimated to the program and how it all works and everything like that. And so it's a little less than I would charge for a month to month type thing. But for my first client, I'm pretty happy with it. And I'm pretty confident that I could generate the leads for less money than he paid,
Oh yeah, yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
So.
I mean, yeah, for sure. What's that? It's like 25 a lead, is it? Something like that. So yeah,
Actually, it would be, if you think about it, it's like $50 a lead.
Oh, my bad.
5,000 total for 100 leads. So, I mean, for all therapy, yeah, I'm pretty sure that I can get it.
Yeah, my bad. My math's way off there. Been a long day. It's 50 of course. Oh yeah, I mean, it's I think the old therapy, my average is around $12, something like that.
That would be amazing.
$12-13, something like that for a lead. That's off the top of my head.
Yeah,
and again,
that's awesome.
Different areas have different results. You can go into an area and it's $25-30. You can go into an area and it's $8. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's it just depends, and you don't know till you do it. But with a $50 a lead amount, that's a very, very safe amount, which is why I recommend it with that as well. And with the minimum there, you did a 2-month minimum with him as well. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest with you, really, mine's a 3-month minimum with myself.
Yeah, I've seen that on a couple things in the videos. On the client tracker, you actually have, it says 3-month minimum for the sample. And I was just thinking, and I was like, I know this guy just makes people do it for 3 months. But you've got, you know what I mean? It's your swagger, you know what I'm saying? So at this point right now, I'm just trying to build that up.
Oh,
but,
no, absolutely, yeah.
But
I
that's
actually recommend doing like just for me right now, for someone like yourself who's just joining, I recommend just getting in the game, like get your first client. I mean, I don't even care if you make money on the first client per se. I know obviously everyone wants to make money, but it's so much more important just getting used to the process, getting your first client, getting in the game, getting some results, getting confident in those results, and then you can go and increase your prices. You can then say 3 months or nothing, 6-month deals. So yeah, absolutely. And the fact you've got, your first client for, 2,550 leads, it's almost, really a guaranteed profit play here. I think it should be very nice play as well.
Yeah.
Especially for a 2-month commitment. So, looking at that there, you're looking at $5,000, probably cost you 1,500 for the leads, maybe,
That would be great. Yeah.
So, it's a nice $3,500 deal there,
Time to pay that course down.
Exactly. Yeah. not bad for the first few weeks. And then it sounds like you took a week or two before you even went out the gate as well. So,
yeah.
Nice.
And the data issue is really, for me, that's the biggest struggle that I have. And I don't want to give away too many of my secrets, but this is one thing that I will tell the group, which you should think about. I'm in the process of putting together an incentive program and actually partnering with somebody who does data.
Oh, cool.
So I'm finding out a way to potentially compensate them on the back end for stuff. So I don't have to be spending a bunch of money being held hostage for, like, you give me X amount of money, I'll give you X amount of contacts. You know what I'm saying? So one of the people that I work with ended up being pretty good. So him and I are working together now to make it to where he's basically writing a code for the scraping that needs to get done, and we can just turn it on. And so instead of having to pay up front a bunch of money, I'm just paying him when I make money out of it. But you have to develop that kind of relationship with somebody that you trust,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, with the data people, some people get lucky with their first person. Sometimes it takes 3, 4, 5 people. Yeah. When you find that one, though, it's just you go to them for almost everything until the project's a little bit more difficult or whatever, and then you go to someone else. But yeah, it's just, it's kind of like with anything, right? It's like finding a good employee, finding a good vendor, finding a good outsourcer, whatever. It's the same kind of process you have to go through. But it sounds like you've got a win already, which is pretty good, after a few weeks. It's frustrating, don't get me wrong. But yeah, once you find that good person, it's kind of like, that part of the business is taken care of for a while, and you can just keep going to them, and making sales and sending emails, really.
Yeah. Well, I actually, know what? I had a question, and you may be able to answer it, and it has to do with getting names and stuff like that. I know obviously it's preferable if you send somebody an email that you would want to say, like, hey, Tom, you would want to, like, call them by their first name because they know it's addressed to them. Do you think it makes a huge difference with something a little bit more generic, like, hey, XYZ company, or hey, something like that?
I actually won't put their name in the email like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The reason why is because when I'm sending massive amounts of emails, oftentimes I don't have their names. Mm-hmm. So I just have it so it's no one has a name. And also as well, if it's a business address, you put someone's name in, it doesn't go to the right person. So it would help to have it in, but when you're doing massive amounts of emails and you've got a mixed bag of data, it can be hard to kind of have that in. The reason why I get the first name and last name is I can then use Hunter, which is a software I use. Mm-hmm. And it just allows me, if I have a person's first name, last name, and a domain name, I can then get their email address. And if I know that's the doctor, the decision maker, or the dentist, or the owner, or whatever, then I know I'm getting the best email address for that business. I'm getting the owner. And so that's the only reason I get the first and last name. Aside from that, you could just get a bunch of emails,
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm thinking about doing. I've spent a lot of time trying to focus on really getting good, like solid, like complete data to make it really seamless when I email. And that's cool because it gets higher open rates for my all therapy sequence. I have like a 20% open rate, which is really good for cold emails. But the thing is that it's hard to get the kind of fuel to stick into that machine to run it the right way. So the next niche I'm doing, which is a niche that is not on the group, but it's kind of in the construction repair-ish niche. I'm focusing more on getting a high volume of companies as opposed to like getting everybody's name, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I recommend you do that, you know. I recommend, you know, again, like I said, the only reason I get the names is so I can do the hunter thing, but there are times where I haven't, you know. So it's a blend really, you know. You'll have like good, you'll get lists that are good, you get bad lists, you get good niches, bad niches.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like the blue ocean, red ocean concept, where, you know, the big money where you just send emails out and you're like open rates like 80% and everyone wants a call with you. That's when you hit a niche that I call a blue ocean, which is untouched. You know, it's untouched, it's fresh. There's no one in there hacking fish or harpooning people.
Yeah.
Versus a red ocean where there's just a bloodbath, right? And there's just, you know, lots of
feeding frenzy.
Yeah, feeding frenzy, exactly.
Yep.
So yeah, you know, and again, I can tell someone a niche and they'll go and get a batch of data. I can tell someone the same niche, they get a batch of data and there'll be two entirely different results, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very interesting game when you include the cold emailing, but it's just such an amazing game as well. And I think it's like a staple for people going out after businesses, B2B. I think it's really a staple of what you should be doing, you know, sending out email.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing you really need to do is just pump the fuel into the machine. Yeah. You know, and I mean, as long as you don't run out of fuel, you're always going to have people that you're emailing. And then you can refine your email and make it perfect to where it starts working better and better and better. And so for me, like I don't mind selling and dealing with people, but I didn't really want a cold call. But I wanted to find, at least I felt confident about what I was going to be selling, but I at least wanted to find people that were interested in talking before I spent the time, because I'm not used to selling to people that don't know who I am, don't want to have anything to do with me at all. You have to at least have something that they want in order to get leverage over them, to have them listen to you, at least hear you out, you know?
Exactly. So, yeah, no, it's a way better way when someone raises their hand, you know, whether it's from advertising or emailing, right? Yeah, it's always better when someone raises their hand and goes forward. It's a very nice way to do things.
That's a selling point on the program too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have nothing against cold calling, you know, but I don't really want to be doing it. So, you know, if I add cold calling to my agency, I've done it in the past. You know, my background was in cold calling for businesses. But if I ever added cold calling again, obviously I'd be hiring people to do it, because as the business owner, I have more things I could be spending my time on, leveraging my time, you know?
Exactly.
That's the most important thing to me right now is my time, you know?
Me too. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Cool. Well, you know, you're doing great. I'm really excited. You know, you definitely understand the concepts, and it goes to show, you know, already taking a $5,000 contract so quickly as well. You know, as soon as you found that person to get you the data, you know, it sounds like it happened pretty quickly as well.
Yeah. So, I'm feeling pretty good because, you know, I had a few people I was talking to. I actually pitched 3 of them. One of them said, let's talk again in February. One of them said yes, and one of them disappeared because he's the most important doctor in the world, apparently.
Oh,
but
really?
They're all so important. It's weird. Yeah. So much more important than me. But you know, so like I feel pretty good about the way that it worked out. But the cool thing about it is that because I was having trouble getting contacts, my email sequences have slowed down. So there's like this little lull as I ramp up and get this code written so I can pull just a bunch of my other people from this other niche. But now I get to spend this next week or so, like really focusing on setting up this funnel the right way, monitoring it, and just being like the best guy ever for these people. And so I'm okay with things slowing down a little bit because at least I have something to work on, you know? Yeah. But I think things are really going to pick up again really soon as I start, you know, sending out more emails for this other niche that I'm working on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It will. It will. And then when you find that blue ocean as well, it's just like, it's like holy smokes. I got like
Yeah.
30 calls to make this week, and you'll just get better at pitching as well. And you had 3 calls, you close like 2 out of 3. Do a $10,000 deal. Do you know what I mean? It's these
Hmm.
little nuances you get better and better. Which is, by the way, closing 1 out of 3 out of the gate is very impressive. By the way, so sounds like you're a natural.
Well, one thing I will say also is that like a couple email hints. Number one, just because, for example, because you're mailing for All Therapy doesn't mean that you can't ask about cool sculpting and sculpture, because a lot of the people do that. And so I put kind of like a little PS. That was my PS. I also offer um, uh, highly targeted leads for these other 2 treatments as well. So, and I've gotten a couple people. One of the people I talked to was trying to figure out which ones they wanted to do. So it was good that I at least, you know what I mean, at least
Yeah.
offered both of them. But also, as far as it goes, I got really good open rates and response rates off of a second email that I sent for All Therapy, because it comes with the one, the course comes with one, but you have to follow up. And so my All Therapy sequence right now is 3 emails long, but it's just it's a couple weeks worth of contact. You know what I mean? And so if you just send out one, a lot of people just ignore that. I ignore most everybody's first email. When they send me a second or third, that's when I'm like, oh, maybe I should just open it and just see what this guy wants. So that kind of helped a little bit as well. Because again, that All Therapy sequence that I have has like maybe 500 names on it. So I was really trying to look for a way to maximize the results out of it. And I knew if I just emailed one time and I was like, oh, well, that didn't work, then it would be a waste of my time and money,
Yeah.
So.
Totally. No, you did well. Yeah. I recommend following up with people every 5 to 10 days,
Until they say no.
Until they say no, yeah.
Yep.
They say, leave me alone, then obviously take them off the list and never mail them again. But yeah, aside from that, just keep mailing them. It doesn't cost anything. That's the great thing about it. It isn't like running ads where you're paying for advertising impressions, where you keep running. If you don't get results, it just the dollar amount stacks up. You just keep emailing. It's amazing what happens.
There is an unsubscribe button on my emails, contrary to some people's belief.
No, I believe you should have that.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about some of the prospects that I've emailed. It's always funny when you have an unsubscribe button and they like write back and they're like, take me off the list.
Oh yeah.
We're going through that extra step. I will remove you.
Yeah, no, absolutely no problem there. Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah. Happy to, my pleasure.
Good times. Yeah, exactly.
I love hitting it for them. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, thanks so much for sharing, Josh. And I'm super excited to see you grow, because I think, I think you're going to be a superstar. Already it's looking great. Before you go, what would you say to anyone who's kind of on the fence about joining the program? They were umming and ahhing or not sure.
Well, I mean, the thing is that, there's a cost to it, but you guys have to protect your IP. You know what I'm saying? And so no system that works really good is going to be free. But, and so I'm used to paying for things like that, and I've done a bunch of different courses and been a part of different communities and everything like that. What I will say is that, and I alluded to this when we were talking a little bit on Messenger, that I'm actually really impressed with the way that the community is run for Local Boss. I've had absentee landlord admins, I like to call them, in certain groups, who just seem to disappear when you need the most help. And I appreciate the fact that you are out there answering people's questions and getting your hands dirty with it. And so for me, I think that that's really important. So you have the support that you need, and the system works, and whether you're creative or not, you can think of your own ideas, but you can also use the ideas in the course. And, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do this if this is something that you want to do. And if you want to, then you'll just figure out the best way to do it. It will work for you, but the support is there. And so for me, that was huge. And like I said, on a macro level, I understand the way funnels work and the lead ads and all that stuff, but it was putting it together and all the little missing pieces. And there's still a bunch of stuff that I wouldn't know how to do on my own, but I'm just 100% confident that if I go and open up the video that says exactly what it is, then I'll know exactly what to do. And if there's an issue, I know where to find you, and I know that you'll usually answer pretty quickly. I mean, for me, that was all the reassurance that I needed to feel good about it, you know? And so I feel great about it. And I think it's worth doing if you want to hustle and if you feel really excited about it, you know?
Yeah.
But again, I would imagine that if you're not confident in your abilities and you're on the fence about this and it's not for you, then it may not be the funnest thing in the world. You know what I mean? But there's really only one way to find out, you know?
Absolutely. So. Yeah. And that's the thing. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that, you know, all business is hustle, isn't it? You know, I don't know a model that you can generate, you know, a $5,000 contract or whatever in a matter of weeks without putting in the work, you know?
Yeah. You can't, I don't think you can do that in e-com.
No.
Yeah.
No, not the profit you're going to make like you just did without very little investment really as far as the system, you know. Obviously there's the training and the coaching, but as far as the actual business investment goes, you know, it's very, very, very minor, you know, like, you know, woodpecker free trial, domain name, you know, obviously what you paid for the list is obviously, you know, an investment as well. But let's just say you paid $100, $200-300, right? You know, as far as the ROI goes, it's pretty major, which is exciting, you know, especially when you're not running ads, you know.
Yeah, and I was going to say about the ad spend, that's pricey too. But the cool part about it is that since it's done, everybody pays up front. There's a certain amount of work that I have to do ahead of time to lay the groundwork, but you don't go past a certain point until you get paid. So you're not going to be throwing money away, you know. Until you're not throwing money away. You're not fronting the ads. Technically, you're getting paid for that, you know, which is good. So for the ability to generate income out of a system like this with the actual costs and the way that the money flows through it, I think it's a great system because it doesn't take a lot out of your pocket up front. But like for me, like I opened an LLC because I want to keep things legit. You know what I mean? Like I didn't really spare a ton of expenses setting things up because I was like, you just kind of get to the point sometimes where you see something and you're interested in it and you're like, I can do that. I know I can do that, you know? And that's kind of where it was like with this. I was like, well, I know I can do this, you know? Yeah. And then you just do it. You just start. So
yeah. Awesome, man. Well, congrats, my man. I'm excited to see you go to the next level as well because I already got your first client. You'll obviously start generating the leads now and you'll go through that whole process and then you'll grow and develop and learn. And then it's onwards and upwards, basically. You know?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I can do my best to try to retain this client. And obviously, I mean, the only thing I can do is work as hard as I can and be upfront and honest and transparent and available, you know. But that's kind of the name of the game right now, you know. And think about how much you could make over the course of a year from somebody paying you $2,500 a month, or maybe even $5,000 a month. I mean, it's $60,000 potentially.
Yeah.
That's a lot to bring in.
Yeah. And you know, in an industry where the average retention is like 3 to 6 months as well, you know, the more you get better at dealing with clients and managing their expectations as well, and making sure that they're calling leads, all those things there will increase the retention. Because if they think, you know, a lot of businesses don't know the difference between a lead and a referral. So what happens is that they think, 50 referrals are coming through the door like I usually get. What they don't realize, they're leads. And they're just people who've just raised their hand, shown some interest, and you actually have to sell them now. But again, it all comes down to a numbers game. It's all a percentage. And you know, ultimately your job is to generate the lead, the interest, and their job is to close them, follow up, call them, and make sure they come in as well. So yeah. Exciting.
Well, you know, I read the last thing. I listened to that interview that's on the training about managing the expectations. And for me, that's when the light bulb like really came on. And I was like, okay, now I really understand kind of the theory behind why we do what we do. You know, the low hanging fruit versus the fruit you have to climb a ladder to get. You know, you have to have the right vertical. It just makes perfect sense. But, you know, when I was a financial advisor, I went through a string of time where I did a lot of planning for people, but they didn't really follow through on implementing the plans. And so I didn't make as much money as I should. And I grew a tougher skin at one point and just started making sure that everything was completely laid out front, because there's just so much less resistance on the back end. And I can have a conversation with someone like, no, I will not do 50 leads. I will only do 100 leads, because if you don't do 100, that's not going to be enough for you. If you have that conversation on the back end, you're done before it even starts. If you just give them the 50 and then they're not happy because you didn't frame it out the right way, that's your fault for not framing it. You got to get that frame on before you build a house.
You got it.
Frame it up.
You got it. You nailed it.
Yeah. The frame will set you free.
It will. The frame will set you free. And those frames are very, very important. And, you know, a lot of people, it takes them a little while to build their own frame and know how to position the frame. And it usually comes from, you know, things going wrong. And they're like, well, what could I have said to make it not go wrong? Okay, I need to explain that better. We'll build that frame. But what I try and do in the program is give you as much as a frame as possible from my experience.
Yeah.
Can transcend into your stuff. But you will still learn your own way. You know, you will still get your own feedback and you will build your own frame from that.
Yeah. Framework.
Which is an exciting thing, yeah. You know, it will just develop. Your frame will develop, you know.
Well, it's definitely a great start. You know what I'm saying? And it's important to talk about the expectations and stuff like that. And so for me, that was really impressive, because that's been like my mantra for the past several years. Even when I was selling clients financial planning and everything, was, you know, like, set it up. Because in that industry, if you do something that someone's just confused about, not even if you try to trick them, but if they just don't get it, you're liable.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what I'm saying? So I don't have any patience for people that I work with that don't explain things the right way up front, you know, because I was always held to this really high standard, and you can get in big trouble just if someone doesn't get it. So I was pretty much taught to not really leave any stones unturned, you know, as far as like setting things up, because I don't like surprises. They're like landmines, you know, just when you think you're safe, boom. Yeah.
It's true. It's totally true, man. Yeah, it sounds like you're set for success, my man. And again, thank you so much for joining me on this call. And I think there's some good nuggets there for people watching, either pre-student or actually involved in the game as well right now with us. So I think there's lots of little lessons there if they listen carefully. So thank you so much, man. I'll let you get on with the rest of your day there in beautiful Seattle. I'll carry on with mine, and I look forward to hear when you got your next client. And if you need anything, just reach out, okay, brother?
Yep, I'll keep everybody posted, and I'll see you on the call a little bit later on tonight, Adam.
Yes, you will, sir. I'll see you in about an hour or so, my man.
All right, man. Thanks again.
Take care.